What up, folks? Stereo HD here, bringing you another gameplay on Call of Duty at Modern Warfare 3, and I'm tired. I'm pretty tired this morning. It sucks. Anyways, overslept, and yeah, I need to go to bed even though I slept for like 12 hours. Anyways, so bring you a gameplay here. I decided to wake up this morning and do a commentary, and I didn't want to do my regular commentary that I do every other day. I wanted to do something a little bit more serious, something that we all deal with at some point in our life, and I find that a lot of people in the gaming community deal with it sometimes a lot more, and that's a big reason why they get into gaming. That's a big reason why they take refuge in the game to not deal with this. This doesn't only happen with young gamers, it happens with older gamers and such like that. So it's kind of a big deal. Anyways, what I'm talking about here is bullying. It's something that almost everyone has dealt with in their life, and it sucks that everyone has dealt with it. It's something you don't want to have to deal with. Simple as that. And you know what? I've gone through it myself, and it was a tough situation. You generally have no other way that it kicks you down. Like, you could have some of the worst stuff in your life happen, but if you get bullied, it's like, bam, this is huge. This is something that you deal with. It's like, I was not expecting this much grief. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story in my life. When I was going into high school, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit more of a popular person, but when I got into high school, within the first couple months, I kind of went through an identity crisis. I changed my look, I changed the music I listened to, the people I hung out with, and such like that. And overall, I was kind of a different person. And in my school, if you were super different like that, you got singled out pretty quickly. We had a lot of kind of like douchebag jocks in our school that would single you out and try to make them bigger than you, try to make them more powerful, and just make you feel kind of terrible about yourself. And a lot of kids getting bullied these days, that's a huge thing. A lot of them are getting bullied because of the way they look. Maybe they're dressing a little different because maybe their family can't afford all these Guess jeans and Abercrombie and Fitch and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, like, it's not their fault. Okay, their parents don't make as much money as your rich lawyer dad, right? Who cares? He's still a person. He still enjoys a lot of stuff that you enjoy, but you're just gonna single him out just because he looks different. That's absolutely ridiculous, and that's what the situation kind of was with me. It's not that I couldn't afford it, it's that I look different. And looks are a huge thing when it comes to bullying in school. That's a big reason why people get bullied. And so I actually lost several friends when I did this, and it was shitty because it was triple kill. It was something that I didn't want to have to deal with, but I just kind of got stuck in it based on a decision I made to change my appearance and stuff like that, and it sucked. But the biggest thing that kind of sticks out in my mind is you actually learn who your real friends are. I was friends with a guy for probably I would say about 7 or 8 years, and he was like my best friend. We did everything together. We hung out every day. We had sleepovers back in the day. We went tubing behind the boat. We did it was crazy. And one day I went up to him and in school, and I was talking to him, and I was like, "Hey buddy, what's up?" And just instantly, he was with a bunch of other people, and this was after I changed my look. He pretty much said, "You're a fag. I don't want to talk to you because you look different. You're an embarrassment. I don't want to be seen with you," and stuff like that. And he said this right in front of everyone, and it was like, what the hell, man? Like, this guy actually valued his social standing with all of his other friends more than his friendship with me. And like, these are people he maybe knew for a few months. You know what I mean? And him and I have known each other for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. I don't even remember how long, but it was a while. And that sucked. I didn't want to have to deal with it, but I did, and I got through it. But to all you people out there, if you're getting bullied, I feel for you. I know where you're coming from, and you guys got to try to stay strong. You got to pick a group of friends to hang out with that they don't have to all look like you. You know, if you're a punk rock, you don't have to look with a punk rock, but pick your friends wisely. You know, pick the ones that you know are going to be true friends. You know, are going to hang out with you because they enjoy your company. You know, they enjoy hanging out with you because you're you. You know, if you're, you know, if you were quote unquote one of the nerdy kids that played video games and, you know, played with magic cards and stuff like that, you know what? You know, that's pretty boss. You know, you're unique. You weren't one of the little clones that, you know, a lot of these other people trying not to be, you know, trying not to be bullied are. You know what? Like, you're a much stronger person than all these other people, and you have the ability to be your own person. So keep that up, guys. If you are that kid, you know, it'll get past it. Like I said, you know, this was in high school. I've been out of high school for, holy shit, like 5 years now. And it was, you know, as soon as high school leaves, you see that a lot changes. If you're that person that, you know, you were kind of the nerdy kid, you know, people don't care outside of high school, right? You're going to see that the biggest thing that happens is the people that were getting bullied, those guys are actually the ones that, you know, have a lot of trouble. You know what I mean? They're the ones that get bullied outside because they spent so much time putting other people down. People don't give a shit about them anymore. They, you know, they're like, you know, why would I want to spend time with you? You just make other people feel bad. And so, guys, it does get better. I can tell you that right now. This Pred Missile, I'm just going to talk about it. I did not see this guy, but I was like, gotta get him. Anyways, so, yeah, it gets better, guys. The biggest thing that I have to say to you guys is, you know, cutting yourself, hurting yourself, thinking about suicide, those are not the ways to go. You know, everyone does it. You know, everyone's thought about suicide. It's just, you know, it's kind of like a teenage thing to do. But at the end of it, if, you know, if that's what it's coming down to, you got to rethink your strategy here. The biggest thing you have to understand is it gets better, like I said, and be your own person, and try to find friends that are going to accept you for who you are. You know, it's a big deal to have those kind of friends, because it'll help you get through it. The biggest piece of advice I've ever heard, it wasn't even advice, it was a kid, actually. He was getting bullied, and he straight up, he actually made a YouTube video. At the very end is he straight up said, you know, I have a reason to be here. I have 1,000 or 1,000,000 ways or reasons to live. You know, this is my life. I'm taking control of it, and such like that, right? Yeah, he was getting bullied, and this kid was, you know, he was bullied a lot, and he was broken down quite a bit, but, you know, he got through it. And the biggest thing is to always remember, guys, you guys have 1,000,000 reasons to live. You know, there's no reason for you not to live. So keep that in mind. When you guys are being bullied, these people, you know, it may happen now, and it's gonna hurt. I'm not gonna lie. You know, bullying does hurt, but at the same time, you always have a reason to live for the rest of your life. Simple as that. You may have times where you feel down, but at the same time, you always have a reason to live. So remember that, guys. Anyways, the game is getting pretty close to the end here. This game, you're going to see that I mainly held CB the entire game. I didn't really touch A. On this map, you don't usually want A. A is kind of a crappy situation. It's so far away from the other two, so you can't get a quick run. Whereas if you're holding B and C, you have that top platform that can kind of hold it down and keep you guys going here. Anyways, the gameplay is pretty much up now. We went 200 to 114. It was a pretty good game. Can I get some more air support, please? Holy hell, I had 2 Reapers, 2 AC-130s. And the last kill here is a guy running down the stairs after just getting 1 knife and shooting this sniper in the side. This sniper pretty much was there the entire game, and I'm happy he got